Welcome to this chat on sermon delivery, where we are going to be offering tips and practical advice on this subject. Regarding some general guidelines on sermon delivery, first of all, believe that your sermon will make a difference in the life of the listeners. Maintain a positive attitude and a fraternal tone. Transmit self-assurance and conviction. And please, do not mock yourself and do not question your own abilities in front of the congregation. Remember that our goal is to create the perfect environment to hear the gospel. Some tips before worship service. Research your sermon thoroughly. Have adequate physical, mental, and spiritual preparation. And please review your manuscript, outline, and sermon notes, of course, before worship. Regarding the manuscript, you may use an electronic tablet, such as an iPad, to preach. If you do so, please highlight keywords on the text, and there are several colors to choose from. If you print your sermons on paper, highlight keywords and leave at least 2.5 inches in the margin on the right side or the left side, if that is your preference, in order to write keywords that will help you with the delivery. And read the manuscript aloud at least twice before preaching it. If you are a guest preacher, please be early. Get to know the church building and the pulpit before the service begins. Greet people warmly. Dress appropriately, respecting the church's traditions. And check the microphones to be sure you're comfortable with them. During the worship service, worship. Participate actively in the worship service. Do not play with your notes. Do not get distracted with your iPad or iPhone. And do not stack compulsively your notes. Warm your vocal cords. You may do so by singing a couple of stanzas of a hymn in the lowest possible pitch. And please, do not abuse your voice. If you are nervous, remember that there are no reasons to be nervous. The congregation is wishing you the best. This is a friendly environment. Pray. That is the best way to relieve stress. And breathe. Deep, rhythmic breathing will relax you, regulating your blood flow. However, if you're still nervous after this, you may close your eyes, breathe deeply, hold your breath for a second, and then release the air very slowly. But don't overdo it because you might get sleepy. Another exercise is to order your body to relax, limb by limb, like saying, hands relax, arms relax, torso relax, and so forth. However, if nothing else works, very discreetly, make a fist with one of your hands. Increase the pressure, holding the closed fist for several seconds. And then, only then, open your hand very slowly and repeat the exercise if necessary. You may even perform this exercise while preaching, as long as you do it very discreetly. If you are the guest preacher, in some churches there is a formal introduction of the preacher. If you are so introduced, respond with humility and appreciation to the remarks. Do not begin your sermon with an extended series of greetings or anecdotes. You may always greet people and reminisce after the worship service is over. I hope that you have prepared your sermon thoroughly. And if you're going to read it in an interpretive fashion. Please step back from the lectern at least 1 to 1.5 feet. If you are too close, you may tend to bury your face in the manuscript. And if people don't see your eyes, they won't believe a word you're saying. Never play with your notes. That is a sign of boredom or that you are too nervous. Regarding the voice, use your natural voice. Avoid the preacher's voice syndrome. Maintain an adequate volume during the whole sermon. Do not allow your voice to fade at the end of phrases or sentences. And do not shout. Use pauses and silences for emphasis. Please vary the tone, volume, speed, and intonation of your delivery, and keep an average pace. Do not speak too fast nor too slowly. Limit the use of pet words and phrases that only distracts people. They become noise. And preach. Do not limit yourself to reading. Try to avoid vocal fry. The vocal fry register is the lowest vocal one, produced through a loose glottal closure, which will permit air to bubble through slowly with a popping or rattling sound of a very low frequency. It forms a large and irregularly vibrating mass within the vocal folds that produces the characteristic low popping or rattling sound when air passes through the glottal closure. Another problem is upspeak. That is a speech pattern in which phrases and sentences habitually end with a rising sound, as if the statement may be a question. Also known as uptalk and high rising terminal, it is rather confusing. However, there are people that affirm this form of speech, saying that women and young people like it, and they consider any criticism of it as gender-based or sexist criticism. In any case, some exercise for the voice. Some problems, such as a very high pitch, can be the result of anxiety and stress. Relaxation exercises may help you correct such problems. Some experts suggest exercises that you may perform in order to better your vocal performance. Let's talk about microphones. Use the microphones effectively. Step back at least a foot away from the mic if it's a fixed one at the pulpit. And you may step further back if you're going to increase your voice volume in order to add emphasis. However, one of the most effective ways of emphasizing a phrase is saying it slowly and softly while you lean toward the microphone, but never yell at the microphone. Lapel mics and headsets limit the modulation of your voice. They force you to do all the work with your own voice. You have to be in control of your voice in order to use a lapel mic or a headset. Regarding body language, different postures transmit different attitudes. Like a center body implies internalization and evaluation. It should be used during pauses and silences. Leaning back indicates that the preacher is pondering a topic or that he or she may have some reservations about whatever he or she is saying. Leaning forward suggests intimacy and closeness. Moving from side to side, hints of indecision and boredom. Opening your arms transmit the idea that the preacher is open to receive new ideas. And closing your arms may imply anger, rejection, or closed-mindedness. You have to be very aware of your movements in order to control those involuntary movements that become noise. They should be avoided if possible. Control your body movements. Stand with one foot slightly in front of the other. In that way, you won't sway from one side to the other. The center of your body must face the audience. And never turn your back to the audience during the sermon. Regarding gestures, be honest. Remember that only born or trained actors can transmit emotions that they really don't feel. Your facial expressions are the most important vehicle for transmitting emotions. Use suggestive gestures. Do not use imitative gestures. And gestures must always slightly precede the words. In comedy, usually the fool gestures after saying something. Therefore, if you gesture after saying something, people may laugh because they may find it comedic. Do not point with your fingers. It is better to point with your open hand. And please, do not run your fingers through your hair. Some gestures related to hair have sexual overtones. And be natural. Congregations reject preachers who overact Limit involuntary or nervous movements. If your body language does not agree with your verbal language, guess what? People will see that as noise. It would be added as noise in the communication process. Charles Bartow said, in other words, when there is a conflict between word and action, it is the action that is believed, not the word. Regarding visual contact, please look at your audience. If you are reading your manuscript, please deliver the phrases facing your congregation, not facing down on the paper. Pick some people as point of references and keep the whole congregation in your range of vision. Do not stare only toward one side or to a particular group of people. Regarding the materials that you will bring with you to the pulpit, only bring that which is absolutely necessary. Place your notes by the pulpit before the beginning of your worship service, and use only those materials that may be the most comfortable for you. Be sure your materials will not distract the congregation. After worship, please do not leave in a hurry. Take time to greet people. Receive the compliments of the congregation with gratitude. And if there is someone who needs more attention, please pay some attention to that person or schedule a pastoral conversation. I hope these materials have been of some help to you, and I hope that you find it useful in your career as a preacher. Blessings.